Hey everybody, Steve here. For those of you who've been watching the channel for a long time, you probably know that I've been into drones for almost a decade, and I recently got an invitation from the local high school to come and teach the drone club how to basically build these things, because they've been struggling since August, and they have not at this point gotten anything in the air. So I'm excited about the opportunity to go and hang out with them and teach them basically how to build drones and how to fly. And I just happen to be going back into my archive here and looking at some of the footage that I did when I used to do a lot of real estate videos. I used to fly so much that I actually got burnt out on it, and I haven't flown in a couple of years. So I decided to pull out the old hard drive and start going through some of my footage and some of my notes, so that I could get reacquainted with flying and how to build them and everything like that. And I will say that quite a bit has changed since these days, but I'm excited to have the opportunity to work with these kids and get them flying and get me flying again. I've been very fortunate to get not only residential work, but get some commercial work as well. Most of the footage here was filmed with my hexacopter. With, I think back in these days, it was a GoPro 3. GoPro has come a long way since the 3. So this is where it all started for me. This is a guy by the name of Jez7. He's out of Australia. In 2010, I had been shooting real estate videography and photography for several years, and I was dying to get a camera in the air. And when I did a Google search, this video came up. I had never even seen a GoPro 1 before. I think that's a GoPro 1, but this right here was a game changer for me. So fast forward 1 year, and I'm watching one of Jez's videos, and I see something that catches my eye right here. Look at that shadow right there. I had never ever seen a quadcopter before, and I was trying to figure out what in the world that was, because I thought that he was flying a helicopter in this video. And a couple seconds later, and this right here was a complete and unbelievable game changer for me. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what to call it. The word drone wasn't even part of a regular person's vocabulary at this point, and I certainly didn't know what a quadcopter was. Even DJI didn't come out with the Phantom until January 7th, 2013. So here we are in late 2011, after I did some research and figured out what the world of quadcopter was. And this is the prototype for the first one that I ever built in my life out of balsa wood. And this right here, I still have it, is the KK1 board. I'm not sure exactly how many months it took me to acquire the parts and build it, but I do know that it took less than 5 seconds for me to get it up in the air and crash into oblivion. Covering the electronics with a CD case made out of balsa wood and using pool noodles for landing gear, here's proof that it actually flew. You can imagine how excited I was when Hobby King came out with this frame right here. Didn't have to make frames by myself anymore. And this flight right here, lasting all of 10 seconds, was the culmination of months of work. But I didn't care. It was ugly, but it flew, and I was excited. Today you can walk into a Best Buy and come out with a ready-to-fly drone and fly it in the parking lot. Back then, a lot more effort went into it. So I'm pretty surprised that I was able to find this little thing, but this is the first flight controller I ever used. This is a KK 1.0, first generation, complete with the 3 potentiometers right there on the board. Here's a KK 2.0 board. I remember when these things came out because it had a little digital readout, and you didn't have to interpret what the lights meant anymore. Complete with the 4 little buttons, which I completely forgot what they do. At some point for the smaller crafts, I switched to the CC3D and ran this for a while. I think this is an F2 generation. And because the kids at the high school, I think the requisition for this went in like 2 years ago. So, and they just got them this school year. They are flying with F3s. This is SP Racing F3 version 1. So this is what I'm going to be building the first quad series with. And then after that, depending on how things go and time and stuff like that, I may get into a F4 or even more recent build. So by early 2014, the frames had gotten better and the quadcopters had gotten better. And this was the first quad that I had ever had with GPS on it. So what you're looking at here is a DJI 450 with a NASA controller on it, and it was amazingly fun to fly. And one of the things that I liked about them, this 450 size, was that I could actually see it up in the air a lot better than I could see the FPV 250s. And I don't generally fly FPV. I usually fly line of sight, but this was a nice entree into what was to come next for me. So when it came to using a quadcopter to film aerial video for work, 4 props and a 3S battery just were not enough to carry the load of the quadcopter and the gimbal. Even with homemade iterations between the gimbal and the rest of the stuff, it was just too much of a load to carry. So enter the 550 hexacopter. So here we are in early 2014, and I'm all jacked up because I'm excited about building my first hexacopter, which I know will have no issues carrying the GoPro and the gimbal. And here it is finished. Even though the Phantom 2 had come out in late 2013, nobody really had them yet. Nobody had really heard of them yet. Having one of these things back then was very, very unique, and I was the only one in my metro area offering aerial videography and photography. It was a nice little run until the DJI Phantom 2s started catching on, and right about the time when Best Buy started selling them, this baby right here was the only thing up in the sky in my general metro area. So here I am flying. Everything's normal, one little dip, and then it decides it wants to go into the ground. And that was the end of that DJI 550 and the GoPro that was on board. This is the aftermath of that DJI flyaway crash, thus ending my confidence in anything that the company would come out with. So after doing a quick search of DJI NASA flyaways, it was pretty evident to me that it was time for me to find another platform. So in April of 2016, I switched over to Pixhawk and never looked back. That thing was fast, it was stable, and I never really had to worry about flyaways or any kind of craziness with it. So I haven't touched one of these things in a couple of years, but I've been building them for, well, I don't know, close to 10 years. I've been in the game for a long time. I'm excited to have been invited to help the local high school drone club. They've been trying to get something in the air since August, and they haven't been able to. So I'm going to help them build one of these little FPV racers, and I'm going to do an entire video series on it, from taking you from basically zero to having an FPV racer up in the air. Well, I really appreciate you watching, and I hope that you'll subscribe. I have an entire series coming up on these 250 size FPV racing drones. I am going to take you from absolute zero to having a completely built 250 size FPV quadcopter. And if you're interested in acquiring one of these kits, this is just a sample of some of the stuff that I've got on hand right now. And if YouTube lets me, I will put a link to my eBay store so that you can get some of this stuff. If not, just go to the About Me page on my YouTube channel and you'll be able to find my email address. Just shoot me a quick email. Please like, comment, subscribe, and stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun.